Thanks for staying with us. So recently, a bill that is causing controversies is currently before the House of Representatives, which seeks to scrap local government in Nigeria. According to reports, the bill is seeking to abolish the third tier of government, which is the closest form of government to the people. Join us on the show right now is a convener, activist for good governance, Mr. Gbenga Shuluki. Welcome to the show, sir.
Good morning.
And we'll also be joined very soon by the honorable member who is sponsoring this bill. Once we have connection with him, we'll talk to him in a moment. But let me come to you, sir, first. Your thoughts on this. I mean, we understand, some have described the local government as an orphan, especially since the reform that happened in 1976, saying that weakened the power of the local government. And since then, we have not really seen the relevance of this group. In fact, they've just been practically fed from the state government. In your view, do you think scrapping it would solve the problem or strengthening it would be a better solution?
Thank you very much. I think the person who is sponsoring that bill is ill-informed, and there is an anti-democratic element. Some of us who are not even in government are clamoring for strengthening of that arm of government. We have 3 tiers of government in Nigeria, for God's sake. Why try to legislate on to scrap one? But what we are saying that, look, let us work towards strengthening the third tier of government. It is not just that they are not performing. It's not the reform per se. It is the way and manner the leadership of our local government emerges, because they are more or less cronies of governors, ministers, and the powers that be in their states. Secondly, we have what we have in Nigeria is not a true federalism. What we have is called quasi or facade democracy. I mean, federal structure. It's a structure where governors go cap in hand every day or every month to go and get a handout from Abuja. That is not it. So it's just because it's like that today. Because look at what we have now. We have the state governors who don't want our local government to be autonomous. Today, the judicial workers are on strike because they are demanding autonomy for the judiciary. Yes. So you will see that it is not about a reform. It's about the orchestrated plan of those in authority not to make it work.
Yeah. So, when I first heard about it, I was in shock. I thought it was a joke. Like, is it possible to want to do that? Well, that's on one hand. But on the other hand, we have heard many people complain. We don't feel the local government. Everything that they are meant to do concerning education at the local level, primary health care at the local level, waste disposal and things like that at the local level, we just don't seem to see as if the local government is doing anything. What we see is usually they go and get some funds from state governments and share it amongst themselves, and it does not show in the roads, in the school, nothing. So maybe that's why someone like the senator is thinking, well, maybe we should pass something, we should pass this bill and mop up our resources and put it to better use.
Well, I think I would disagree sharply with that. Number one, even a bicameral legislation is not what we would desire in Nigeria. Look at our pulse. We have a very lean pulse. We are seriously in that state financially. So we need to, it is even the bicameral legislation that we should reduce to 1. The local government is a tier of government.
Yes.
To make it work depends on what the players who are at that level of the states does. Because we have a state, once they are elected at local government level, they are made to have a joint account with the state government. From there, they cannot do anything except Mr. Governor says, do this, or the commissioner in charge says, do this. So that's why they have practically taken away their responsibility, and they are even taking away their resources. So definitely you cannot get things from that. So I expected a legislator that is responsible and responsive to be concerned about how best we can return the local government back to what it was. Not trying to scrap it. Scrapping it is not the proper way of doing things now.
So I think it will also be unfair to assume that the local governments are not really functioning effectively. because there are some local governments that have made a mark. For instance, the Shomolu local government, where the chairman, who had done about 31 roads, he has bought what's this, transformer KVAs for the community and all of that. He's built hospitals, he's worked on their schools, and they have, so the residents around have felt the impact of that particular Shomolu local government. Yeah. But how do you think you can, present the fact that this local government is working so that we know where the problem is? There are some local governments that are not working, but there are some local governments who are actually doing what they are supposed to do. Yeah. Is there a way that the residents, the people who are benefiting from this local government, can stand up today and say, we need this local government because they are doing what they are supposed to do against this bill?
I think basically the people who happens to be the major actors in this thing should also own up the process. Okay. The process of rejecting that obnoxious bill, it is the people that should reject it. Well, let me also commend the chairman of Shomolu Dola. I've not met him before, but because of our advocacy, we have cause to be at that place so many times.
Let me pause you for a quick second, because I'm told that our Honorable, who sponsored this bill, is on the phone right now. So it's good to hear from him. Good morning, Honorable Bob Solomon. Are you there?
Good morning. How are you?
Good to have you on the show, sir.
Thank you.
So many have argued that there is no...
My name is Solomon Bob, not Bob Solomon.
Oh, I do apologize. Honorable Solomon Bob. I do apologize for that.
Thank you.
Right. So many have argued that scrapping the local government might not be the right way, might not be in the best interest of Nigerians, because there have been advocates trying to strengthen their powers because they feel that they are the closest to the people. Why, in your view, do you think it's important for us to remove that tier of government?
Thank you for this opportunity to at least shed some light on the bill I'm sponsoring. I've listened, I think I got a few things of what the contributor inside FHU was saying. And what he said basically encapsulates a lot of the misinformation out there concerning this bill. This bill is not meant to scrap local government. Far from it. This bill is meant to strengthen our federation. Okay, it's meant to strengthen the principle of federalism upon which this country was founded. Okay, yes, I'm a lawyer of many years' experience, and a constitutional lawyer for that matter. I know that local government is not a tier of government in a federal system. So it was a corrupted version of federalism that was introduced in 1979. Okay, following the ill-advised 1976 Dasuki Commission's report, okay, that called for uniformity of local governments across the length and breadth of this country. That was wrong. And we should never assume or proceed from the points of view of thinking that our constitution is, let's not apologize our constitution thinking that everything is right with it. Okay, our constitution, though we call it ground norm, it's not a ground norm, to speaking, because the true principles of the first principle don't apply to the constitution. What we do is to chip away from the constitution those elements of incongruity that not lend it to proper, federal constitution. One of which is this bill regarding delisting. The word is to delist local governments as a tier of government. Federalism envisages power share between two tiers of government: central government and the federated states. Okay, the local governments in the federal system all over the world are babies of the states. What we have in Nigeria is normally the states have to fund local governments, create as many and fund as many as they want and they can afford. That is the norm. Anything that what we're doing is anomalous, it's absurd. So I'm not calling for local government scrapping. Local governments all over the world are units of administration, recognized. But in a unitary system, they are a feature of the constitution. They are not a feature of federal constitution, such as we purport to run this country. They are a feature of regional, provincial, or state governments. Okay? Yes. If I may elaborate a little bit for you. Right now, it is impossible for any state in this country to create local governments. Section 8 of the Constitution purports to give the powers to local government to the states. But Section 9 takes it away completely. You can't do that. You in Lagos State cannot create local government for Lagos State and have it federally funded from traditional accounts without the concurrence of the state, say in Sokoto, Zamfara, or in my own state of Rivers. Why? Because you require 4/5 majority of members of the National Assembly of each house to vote. And that would include members of all other states, aside from Lagos. Why would a man in Rivers State or Sokoto for that matter have an interest in local affairs regarding how Lagos, the government Lagos State creates? It's an absurdity. So I'm not calling for scrapping local government. I want it to return to where it ought to be. By the way, you guys should know, like I said, reference earlier my initial comments.
Let me go.
Now,
thank you,
sir.
Let me pause you for a second. Let me pause you for a second because you've been very crystal on what this bill is about. We're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll let our guests respond to you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
We still have our guest with us in the studio, an activist and a good governance convener. And I'd like you to respond to what the Honorable said earlier concerning delisting, not scrapping the local government. What are your thoughts on that?
Number one, I have not reacted to the fact that the bill is about scrapping. But what we're saying is that even where it is today, where the local governments are today, they are not performing based on the fact that they have become appendages of the governors. So now, handing those over back to them will mean that we will not even have that type of government.
But there's no tire. That is not meant to be there.
What we're saying is that we're going to get there. What we're saying is that, okay, if it is not, then why the haste? Why not remove that clause in the Constitution that says this is that about creation of local government? Instead of saying that every state must be concerned. Look, in every civilized society structure, you must, if you are able to manage your county, mayoral or local government, once you can fund it, that should not be a problem.
Right.
But unfortunately, in Nigeria, we have a quasi federal structure that we are running. So that's why these things are coming up now. Then the timing too is also not. It's not a very perfect
Let me let Tokwe throw in a question here. Let me see.
Okay, your question. Is it question? Because every time I've heard about the issue of local government, I know we have a problem that the local government structure in Nigeria hasn't been effective, and that much we can all agree.
Yeah.
But the question to the Honorable?
Both of them would address it. Is the issue of delisting, does it have to do with the fact that we don't want the local government to ask for funds? Is it a fight for funds? Is the local government autonomy a fight for funds? So let's address is a money issue so that we know this is what we're dealing with. Each local government chairman was able to collect FAC, which is the system we run now, where everybody goes to federal government and collects money. If it is a money issue, let's deal with the money and say that every local government should source funds internally. If that is done, we might not even have this discussion at all. But at the crux of it, it seems like this quarrel is a quarrel of don't pass my funds through government, through state's governor. Let my funds come to me directly. Is a money issue. Okay, let's deal with it. Is it a money issue that is making them delist it?
Honorable Bob, did you get that question from?
Yeah, I got it. Thank you. I got it.
Go ahead.
So may I say something?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Okay. It's where to start from the last point. The other speaker made is both the money issue and a non-money issue. First, the objective of this bill is to strengthen our federalism. Some are referred to it as anti-democratic. No bill can be more democratic than this one. If you are talking about true federalism, restructuring, I've heard a lot of talks about that in many years. This is a bit of it. If you want to federalism, it's the meat of it. Okay. Now, a money issue in the sense that a lot of states get a lot of money to local governments. Some they don't get enough, or even near enough. One of such states is Lagos. Lagos has 20 local governments here. Let me just give you some a bit of graphic illustration. In 1991, one Jigawa was created out of Kano State. Lagos and Kano populations were just about the same, 5.7 million. Now, Jigawa was carved out of Kano, and then it got 27 local government areas. And then one half of old Kano got 44. The two combined have 71. So, at 1991, when Lagos and Kano populations were the same, one state got 71, one was 20, and the state stuck at 20. Okay. Now, they make local government be federally funded. They get their money from operational accounts, just as federal government and state governments. So those states that have been, because those people were created in the slapdash, in a arbitrary manner, those states that have been, unjustifiably rewarded have got their unjust rewards permanently cemented in the Constitution. Under sections 8 and 9. You can't change that.
Right.
Okay. Those that have been, hard done by, remain with their disadvantage forever. Okay. So what was the objective criterion used in creating governments? The answer is 0. I just give you a graphic instance of 2 states. And that kind of situation permitted the entire exercise. Okay. Now, if you defund, or rather, someone was saying something earlier about basically just allowing more states to create, removing the difficulty in the local government from the Constitution, so that this argument will go. The moment you remove difficulty in the local government, while it's still a tired government funded from operational accounts, you open the window. There will be a run. Okay? There will be a huge run. There will be a domino effect. Every state in this country will create 1,000 local governments per day. Because they know they have become an avenue to get funds from the operational accounts.
Right. Numbers.
But all these are irrelevant if we just do what is necessary. What I see as a part, in fact, the fundamental principle of this country's founding ethos, that is federalism ethos. Okay? Our founding ethos did not make local government system a tier of governments. It was a three-tier system. In 1960 Constitution, it was a two-tier system, as it should be, and it is all over the world. Under 1963 Federal Constitution, was the same thing. Was the same thing. Now, sometimes people say, oh, the arguments in the song with respect to true federalism and development in rural areas, was in the First Republic, 1960, 1963. So how were government run there? There were municipal council areas in the south, and the north was coordinated authorities. They were coordinated authorities. Okay? And the laws governing them, their funding, their creation, their establishment, the laws were made by regional governments. In the southwest there, you had momentum in local development, just as in the north, and then the southeast. Okay? So the idea that if you delisted local governments and made them as they should be, a subject of state creation, the government should emasculate them. For me, it's really a non-starter, and it's a bit absurd because no government.
Honorable Bob, we get that point. Honorable, let me throw in a question for you. Go ahead.
Please, I mentioned 2 things, that if this is a fight for funds, why don't we just, in a yes or no, not fund the local governments and make local governments be creative about generating funds locally to develop their local areas? If they're not getting funds from FAC accounts, would that not solve the problem by just cutting off the funds from them?
Yeah, that would go some way. Okay, but so long as they remain a tier government, they have many other ways in which they can influence government policy decisions with respect to many advantages that can come from their abilities as a tier government.
Let me go on a quick break, sir. When I come back, we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your view will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. Yes, BC had a question before the break.
Okay, Honorable Solomon, I quite understand your explanation so far. And it sounds to me like still a form of restructuring. But I would have suggested that why don't we restructure properly? So we look at the matter from the beginning to the end, holistically. So we start by ensuring that the states, first of all, have control of their resources. Then the federal, which is now the center, is being paid something too. So when states can handle their resources, they will now determine how many local governments they need to serve the people. Don't you think that should have been the flow of things?
Yeah.
That's good.
Well, the argument is valid. Okay, I am for full and whole-scale restructuring. Okay, but when we're at it, whatever we can do to chip away from the flawed federal system, let's not hide from it. It would require something more momentous to, get to what we are saying. Even the little bill that just seeks to, basically restructure the character of power sharing in a federation. See how much, ripples it's causing, and how much negative publicity generated, because people haven't bothered to understand the content and character of a federation and what it actually is all about. It will be more dramatic if we were to talk about, first of all, doing what you're saying about state taking full control and give under the censor. That will become more dramatic.
We'll come back to that, sir. Let me, because I have very little time. I want to take a few more questions for you. Go ahead, Mariam.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing I would like to speak about also is just at the House, how things are being done. Bills are being passed and deliberated upon. There's supposed to be a forum for stakeholders to be involved in the communication. And one of the grounds that the union has, the National Union of Local Government Employees have, is that you had gone further, the first and second reading, it seemed to them as if we are trying to pass this bill in spite of in spite of knowing where they are coming from without their involvement. So could you better explain to them what the process has been so far? And maybe they have no cause to be afraid of not being involved.
Well, thank you. A lot of what we discuss suffers from, lack of scrutiny by individuals and all of us as a collective. People don't bother to go through details to know it in fully before they come out to make comments publicly. Okay, this bill, has only undergone the first reading. First reading is just basically an announcement. Announcement is just as a matter of course. Okay, nothing at that stage, no debate, nothing, no arguments is heard on the bill at first reading. Okay, the state of contentious is second reading. And compared to what you are saying, the bill has not been read for the second time. I've not been presented for the second time. I'm still looking at, crossing the I's and crossing the T's. I haven't done all I need to do on it, and then the consulting. I'm not done with that. Okay? And I also understand the sentiments coming from various backgrounds, from individuals who want to maintain the status quo and retain their advantages, okay, and continue to shortchange those who have been shortchanged since 1979 when this introduction to federal constitution or local government system as a federal government was done. So I understand all that. Okay, there's no assurance that this bill will pass. So the apprehension is not even necessary. The apprehension is even at the moment misplaced.
Right. Okay, let me pause you for
I say so myself. As a sponsor of the bill, I'm pained to understand that, to observe that a lot of people are not showing the requisite understanding, okay, of what it takes
Right.
to
Let me
the Federation.
Let me pause you for a second, sir. Let me pause you for a second because our guest in the studio, I'd like to hear his thoughts on everything you said. I mean, you've said quite a bit in the last few moments and made some revelations to us. In your view, do you agree, therefore, with the issue of delisting and given that is a kind of restructuring, indirect restructuring from the inside out? Do you agree with what he's saying?
Why go indirect? Why not go direct? There are many issues that are begging for attention from the National Assembly that are not being attended to. The delisting will be the major thing. Like my sister has just pointed out, look, if you want to restructure, if you have the guts, you have the balls, go all out and say, okay, these are that. Look at the way we are collecting VAT. Some places in the north don't consume alcohol. They do that in Lagos here. You collect VAT on alcohol, then share it among the states of the Federation. That is injustice. That's all you ought to fight, you talk about. It's not delisting. Delisting, it shows that you want to hand over the local government back to the states that are already dealing with them. Because when you look at what we have now, we have joint allocation, the governors dictate what happens. So we are saying that, look, if we want to restructure, if we want to strengthen the rough edges, we should go all out and say, okay, yes, we want restructuring. Nigeria, there's no guarantee of prosperity the way we are running it. Presently, there's no guarantee of prosperity. Except we sit down and say, okay, let us look at the structures. Are the structures okay? So it is not about the local government now.
With one
so with
issue.
that, let me now come to you, because I'm going to have to wrap up with you very quickly, because I think that's the same question all Nigerians are asking for. Honorable Bob, why is it so difficult for the honorable members to simply restructure? You said, you used the word momentous, and I wrote it down. You said, when Bisi asked the question earlier, why is it such a huge Herculean task to get the lawmakers to say, you know what, this system is not working. Can we totally restructure? We've done a confab. We've had documentation to this effect.
Recommendation.
Why can't you and your colleagues simply agree to restructure holistically?
Thank you. I'm sure you know, as well as I do, the diverse sentiments that prevail in our country, which are products of our own different backgrounds. Okay, so forming a consensus on the subject as contentious as restructuring is always going to be difficult. Okay, at the level of National Assembly, where you would hope that everyone has got necessary enlightenment and awareness and patriotism, okay, to understand these things and then go forth with them. There are still a lot of difficulty, with respect to the ability of some persons to be persuaded, about, I said earlier about some persons who want to retain the status quo and the advantages they enjoy therefrom, and others, having to bear the brunt of it. So it's Nigeria is a very diverse country, okay, tribally, culturally, religiously, and otherwise. There are always sentiments that will, permeate thoughts at different levels from, depend on, individuals' background and perspective. So it's always going to be difficult. But don't let us, muddy the water. Okay, the fact that we cannot get the bigger, what you consider bigger issues of structuring, we can't get going on those ones. Cannot prevent us from doing
on that
the one we can do. Somebody mentioned talking about Lagos State, and what's that? Lagos State, VAS, and all that. Of course, that's the legitimate points. Okay.
All right, so I think you've answered my question, sir. Unfortunately, I think you've answered my question. I think we're clear on the response.
Thank you.
We have to run at this point, but we thank you very much, sir, for sharing your thoughts with us on this show. All right. So before we go on a break, Toko wanted to say something. Thank you very much. I'll let our guests.
I was worried about the internal democracy, something that we haven't had at the local government level, where rarely would you have opposition win election at local government level, and when they do, they complain of not having access to the governor of the state. So if we do this delisting, it will almost mean that we'll have a one-party system in every state where the governor determines who would win at the level that. How do we strengthen democracy by delisting? That was supposed to be a question, but I don't think that we can take that.
I'm even more worried because we know now that the states are not even willing to release funds to the local government. Now, if you hand over the local government to the states, where they are the ones that are the authority to make and delist and choose, we are closing this down, we are opening this, they may not even have any functions at all.
Let me take a few tweets to that. So Honorable Demola Alalade says, if the House is considering to remove the local government as a tier of government, then it means the House of Reps should also be scrapped, as I feel the local government has more part to play in the lives of our people than the lower chamber of the National Assembly. Many other people are saying well said to the Honourable, because I think it better explains what we thought. We came here thinking it was a total scrapping, but he's explaining a delisting. Festus Akimboyewa says removing state government rather than local government will be more beneficial for Nigerians. States are the ones hindering our development. Wow. So it will be interesting to note what will happen at the stakeholders meetings where everybody will have to put
Let me let you have a final word on this.
Well, like we're saying the other time, the issue is that it's not about delisting. It's about, if you want to restructure. You cannot hand over local government to state governors and think some governors will let it go. Like we were mentioning the other time, that we have a fantastic chairman here. Because when people come up with this porous agreement of saying our local governments are not working, I know of this local government chairman. I have cause to go there, and I've seen wonderful things he has done.
And the many others that are working.
And we have also seen those who are in Lagos, who are so docile and inept. So you can see it. So it is not about this, it's about looking at it holistically, because if you don't look at it and try to just throw away everything, definitely the governors, some of the governors who doesn't meet well, will also be able to get away with.
We have to run. I have to run, unfortunately, but thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure having you on the show. I think it's a trust issue. We just have to pick up the government and just trust that one is going to work for us. That's all we can take. When we come back, move on to another topic. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.